Welcome. Welcome to a world tour. At least I hope it's going to be that. I haven't done any streaming to YouTube. This is kind of my trial run. So I want to do a base tour. I've wanted to do one for a while now, and they're just boring, right? Nobody wants to watch somebody walk around and yammer on. But at the same point, I think all the little videos I put together don't really show a good overview of the base. And I've occasionally watched old pre-recorded streams on YouTube of certain mod packs that I'm interested in. So maybe someone will get a kick out of this. But it's not intended to watch. So I'm sure it's going to be real boring and chatty and rambly. Where do I start? Well, if you don't know, this is Project Ozone 2. I'm playing Kappa mode, where the recipes are a little more harder. And the way I usually can verify that I'm actually in Kappa mode is the applied energistics drive. Instead of iron, you need mercury. And I don't really know how you get to mercury and do spaceships and all that stuff. I'm definitely not there yet. When this pack first came out, I don't know if it was 7 years ago or whatever it was, I didn't get very far. Even on the normal difficulty, I didn't get very far. It was very new to modded when this came out, and this was way too advanced for me. And I thought it'd be cool to come back and try it again. There's not much to say here. You know, it's your typical skyblock. You know, you punch wood, you sieve, lots of sieve and lots of silkworms. You know, you get into tinkers. They got some cool iron chests, iron furnace stuff going on. Again, they get you into automatic sieving. And then they slowly introduce you into something called MineFactory and immersive engineering. And I'm honestly not really done much. This is one of the few, I'm stumbling over my words here. I won't be able to cut them out. This is one of the very few times that I have not made water wheels and windmills from immersive engineering. I used the power cables early on. You can see there's a couple down here, but they don't really do anything. I like the mod. I just, I was kind of bored of it. I wanted to try new stuff. And then MineFactory was cool. I had a steam turbine here that I actually tore down. It was from very early game. It produced a lot of power for me. It was a good early game option, but I felt like it was a little laggy, so I just tore it down. But you can see it in previous videos. And they got all kinds of stuff, but I didn't build half these machines. I just built the blocks. And collected the quest reward. I've got a ton of these chance cubes. If we look at this remote orderer here, you can see I got 17 pages, all kinds of stuff. And if we search in here, chance cubes, you'll see we got 130 and 44 of those. I think I opened one of these up in my very first episodes. It was a little bit of an explosion, nothing crazy, but definitely not going to open up any more of those. Hello in the overworld. That's kind of dumb luck. So yeah, streaming. You start to get rambly and you can't cut it. So this igloo here is kind of cool. I've always played this particular map. It's a preset, I think is what you call it, or pre-made. I forget the name of it, but you start in this igloo, and of course, there's monsters everywhere, and you're trying to grow trees, and, you're trying to sieve stuff here. You got your water and your water barrels. I've collected every head from all my deaths, so you can see that I've died a few times. And then a lot of junk quest rewards I just started slapping down. I actually kind of forgot that these were here. Lots of dirt chests. And then just some artifacts that I've not really, dealt with or moved anywhere. I was always meaning to plant more trees. I thought it was really cool the way this kind of center area turned out. I really should get back to decorating because it's the only part of the base that actually has greenery. I stopped actually putting so much grass down because I kept getting fluid cows. Which might be a good segue into the journey map. So here's the base. I decided I kind of wanted to try building vertically. I've always wanted to do that. It's kind of an interesting challenge for me. You can see I used a lot of sandstone because that's what was available early on. And there's no easy way, as far as I know, to quickly exchange blocks. So it's probably going to stay that way. Little cow patch here for getting fluid cows. I've moved all the good ones here, which I may talk about later. But this whole area, I don't think I want it in the overworld. The original idea was to keep it 8 chunks away. So when I'm doing stuff here, it wouldn't be rendering. The client wouldn't render it. But I probably built it a couple chunks too close. So this stuff might end up going to a different dimension. So it's hard to not get off on a tangent. Trying to do a world tour. But this last millennia thing, what's it from? Extra utilities? The last millennia? Somebody had told me to make this. I didn't know what it was. It's not very expensive. You cook some quartz, you do some of this nonsense, got a clock, and then boom, you have a Everdark area. I haven't done any building there, so it's no point going there. It's just boring. But this is kind of going to be my portal area, I think. As far as it can be. This actually takes me to those cows. It's the portal mod. It's kind of neat. Originally, I had an underground railroad to stay away from all the bad guys. And I'm just noticing. Okay, I wanted to make sure that wasn't on peaceful. Sometimes when you go into a different world in this version and do some testing, you forget to change it back, and it persists across world saves. Let the tangent begin. So here's my cows. I got some liquid cows here. Why does it not? JEI. Okay, fluid cows. XP. I'm pretty proud of this. You'll probably see a lot in this video here. I talk about redstone control. It's like a outright obsession. Even if it doesn't make sense and it's a colossal waste of time, it's an addiction for me at this point. But the rancher does work, right? But if you give it a redstone signal, it actually turns it off. And this is from MineFactory loaded, but in newer versions, people are probably more familiar with IndustrialCraft. Nope, that's wrong. Industrial Foregoing. That's the one. Yeah, I like to believe that when it's disabled, it's not ticking, because you can see it's not working right now, that it won't be as laggy, especially if you have tons of them. So every single farm is set up the same. I've got a rancher putting fluid into a drum, 256 buckets worth, and then it goes into an ender tank. These things are really cheap. I know an Enigmatica 2 expert, one of my favorite mod packs, it was a little more expensive, but this is, besides the blaze rods, I guess, it's a pretty cheap thing to get early game. But yeah, the comparators work on these drums, which is really cool. So they pull out a redstone signal. So when we got 15, a full drum, going into this comparator on subtraction mode, because it's got 15, you basically have 0 coming in. And if you've got 0 coming in here, then this torch will be on. If this was 14, 15 minus 14 is 1, so then this would have turned off and this thing would run if this drum was low. But since the drum is full, this repeater is powering that block, which pushes redstone in. So it's the exact same setup. I thought it was kind of cool. I probably, if I was rebuilding this, I would have built it with fences, because I've had a couple cows get suffocated on chunk loading, which is kind of too bad. And another weird thing about this version is the precision hammer is how you interact and interface with this stuff. You can see how there's outlines of everything now. So that's kind of cool. And one of my favorite things is if I push B on my keyboard, there is a... Where is it here? Tinker's Construct, the Traveler's Belt. It's just the coolest thing. I use it so much to be able to flip my hotbar back and forth. So that's cool. I got a bunch of cows. If they're the same type, you can breed them. If they're not the same type, you can't breed them. It'll come up later, but nutrient distillation from EnderIO is a really good power source, and I plan on just expanding this and totally abusing it because why not? For an expert pack, it's kind of OP having fluid cows, but whatever. I got tons of cows. Every time I get a cow that maybe looks interesting, if it's a metal type, I put it in here. You know, I got a couple categories. Maybe I need to place. Unfortunately, it doesn't tell me what's in the lasso, so I just gotta guess. Stuff that I'm positive is useless is right here. So that's cool. And we've fallen into the hole, which is brilliant. I wasted a colossal amount of time doing 10-10-10 with Agricraft, but I did it all mainly by watching Twitch and YouTube series. And it wasn't even Minecraft, I don't think. But my plan was I was going to do, see these plots here? Let's pull up the journey map. See how there's 6, and then there's 6, and I was maybe going to continue it on. I'm probably going to move all this to the last millennia, and I probably don't even need to use these darn, what is it called here? Addons. Agricraft Farming Station by EnderIO Addons. Really cool thing. It's a little pricey, but at this point for me it's not. But when I was making them, man, it was pricey. You know, again, same thing, right? Still kind of pricey. These darn heads the player has to collect. I have not found a single way from all my Googling and Redditing how to get a zombie head. It has to be a player kill. You can't automate it. So that's a major pet peeve of mine. Somebody in one of my last videos had told me to use the harvester. They're like, why aren't you using a harvester for your Agricraft 10-10-10 seeds? Well, I was like, well, I don't want them to lose the 10-10-10 status because that can happen with certain mods. Well, it doesn't, and that's the better way to go. So I'm probably going to retire these Agricraft things. But you can notice that my redstone here, none of these are analyzed apparently. But trust, they're all 10-10-10. You go to the nether, you can get nether redstone, and if you cook it, I think it doubles. And then you get real redstone. Same with lapis. There's all kinds of fancy redstone logic going on down here. Again, redstone obsession. What I was thinking I was going to do, right? Here we go. Let's walk down to this weird little area here. I had big plans for this. With the slave. So we got 1 farm, 2 farm, and 3, 4, 5, 6, and then of course mirrored, right? And they're pushing into this drawer, and then we got trim that connects them. With logistics pipes, which I haven't talked about yet, I don't think, I was going to connect them to the render chests, which will be discussed lately, or shortly rather. Oh boy. I don't even know if it's worth talking about this. Basically, I have an upgrade in, I think, this guy here to output its redstone amount. So this upgrade from this drawer will actually tell any of these connectors here what their storage level is. So we know what the storage level of orange is for the redstone. It comes into here and we have 6 pages. That's why I have 6 crops, is because there's 6 pages. So this would be redstone, you know, this would be lapis, and basically you're checking that the signal is less than or equal to 14. You know, 15 is your max redstone. So if it's lower, run the farm, because these farms will run indefinitely, and if the inventory plugs up, they'll just start dropping items on the ground, which, you know, kills the world, right? So it tells the thing to run. So this is the redstone, this is the lapis, and then I was going to go down the line to do the other 4, and then 6 here. So yeah, that was my big plan, but I think it's way overkill now after talking with the one person about the harvester. But you never know, I am stubborn, and I might do it anyway. I am not in a rush. That wasn't already evident. time to leave this area and not come back. I guess I could have just taken the portal mod, but then I can't show off my glider and my clouds from the Aether. I don't have a lot of nostalgia for this version because this was early on in my modded Minecraft career where I didn't play with most mods, so this has definitely been a lot of fun coming back to it. This is a more recent build. It's got one purpose only. It is to get zombie heads. I have a cleaver, which is now configured to be 100% beheading. Originally it wasn't, and then somebody had told me, hey, you know, make a magical wood cleaver and you get 100% head droppage. So this is one of those RedNet controllers, again, from MineFactory Reloaded. Really cool thing. It's kind of like a play on words. They call it a PRC. Notice a programmable RedNet controller. For work, I actually do PLC stuff, which is programmable logic controller. Kind of sort of the same. Inputs, outputs, yada yada yada. The blue lever is telling this thing to run. It does a few things. What's kind of cool is it's got a trend, actually. So over in this corner here, there's a mob counter. And then this is the slaughterhouse. I run the pink lever, it runs the slaughterhouse. But notice when this machine's running, it actually has a work timer it's got to do. So once this thing starts killing, you'll see the zombie count starts dropping. And I just added that in because I thought it was cool. That doesn't get me heads though. If I want heads, I gotta wait for zombies to spawn. I hit them here. The loot basically goes into here and it gets sorted back at the main base. And there was some logic in here, but the basic idea is only spawn zombies if there's less of 12 of them here. Because that's what this thing does, is it gets a count, and this lever is not overrided. Whoops, leave that in the off position. Kind of a fun little build. I really enjoyed using the Aether clouds because it made it look interesting. More redstone. Here's the aforementioned nutrient distillation and the zombie generator. This thing was probably full before I turned on the spawning, and you see it drop this much. There's no way this little guy can keep up with how much power gets sucked out from this powered spawner I made. That's why I have this giant vibrant capacitor, which is a little awkward to make. But it's got good reserve, or surge. Legit capacitor. This mod's new to me, the Erebus. I have not beat the bosses yet. I guess it could be a cool time to look at some of these quests again. You had to go to the Aether, which is kind of meh. It annoyed me. I'm not good at combat, but I begrudgingly did what I had to do in the Aether. And then I got the clouds, which is kind of cool. Now I'm on to the bugs, but like, look at this thing. I gotta kill that thing. This thing. This thing. I haven't even started this. This just looks like no fun at all. So I'm really dreading this chapter. I don't want it. What else here? Aha. This chapter, oddly enough, is one of the more recent progresses I've made. I don't know if that sentence made sense. I've only come back to actually doing this really late game after like 1,000 days in game. I'd kind of skipped it. I've got all my seeds now. Every single one of them's 10, 10, 10. It was a bit of a grind, but I got there. And now I got to get into Botania, which I used to not like Botania, but after playing Enigmatica 2 Expert, I quite enjoy doing redstone and automating it. I just hope that it works as good as it did in 1.12. Nothing too exciting here, just utility stuff. I really should just go through and actually make this stuff, but I haven't bothered. I only recently started making all of these thermal machines. I haven't even placed them yet. I've just made them because you had to make the resonant tier frame, which is, you know, where is it? I don't even see it. Here. Yeah, resonant. Talk about that later. EnderIO. I always forget how advanced EnderIO is. I always thought it just came around in 1.12, but it was alive and kicking back in 1.710. What did I just do there? Mechanism, I've only just as of this weekend actually started dipping into mechanism. Like just barely. I've spent the last couple weeks tinkering with PneumaticCraft, which we'll see shortly. Solar panels. I cannot believe I thought I was going to do solar panels, but I kind of stopped at this point. A little bit of MineFactory reloaded. I really have to get into this quantum stuff for some reason or another, but it's gated. I think behind Mercury. Like I literally need to go to another planet. So that's it. And I don't know how to unlock the rest of these chapters. So that's the quest book. So this tower here, I kind of had this thought at work. Hey, I should make a giant tower that is colored. And then I'll just add, you know, floors. So I think I have only got 2 floors right now. I can add 1, 2, 3, 4 more. I plan on putting the end cake here. That's what's kind of amusing too, is I can't even fight the dragon yet because I need to make cake, which means I need milk. And as far as I can tell, unless I get into essence, which is really far away, you can go to the Erebus and get milk. I just don't want to go to the Erebus, and I don't know how to do that either. So, no end for me yet. So here's the first floor. I've collected a couple villagers just because there was a reason. Forget why. Yeah. I went to all the work of getting villagers and curing a villager, a zombie villager, and then breeding these and making a breeder farm and then destroying it. I don't remember why. And some mod makes them drop emeralds, so I just put up a collector there just recently. Nothing too exciting. BuildCraft duplicate what do you call it? Enchants. Magical wood works better than bookshelves. EnderIO is pretty sweet. My XP farm is hooked up to this bad boy, so I can easily, you know, deposit a couple levels, which is great. This thing's not even close to being full. I don't even know. It might be like, you know, millions, like 2 millions, whatever a max integer is of room. It just keeps taking XP. I just have it off right now because it would just be laggy, right? I don't want stuff running in my world if it doesn't need to be. Like if I type in a forge TPS here, this is my understanding, by the way, but like Dimension 0 is your overworld, that's where I'm at. The whole time I've been playing, I've been watching this pretty steady. It's around 3 to 4 milliseconds. If I'm doing some crazy auto crafting with logistics pipes, it maybe goes up to 5 or 6, but it's always kind of stayed low, and I spend a lot of time trying to monitor that and make sure my world's not running too hard. So of course my tick time is always going to be 20. It's solid. I might get this wrong here, but my understanding is if you invert 20 ticks per second, you get 50 milliseconds, 50, and that's an average, right? So I've personally found that if you start getting to 20 or 30 milliseconds here, you actually notice more and more lag. But again, that's just my kind of crude understanding. I want to keep it below 10, let's put it that way. We got the green portal here. Here's my storage room. It's relatively new. You're going to see why. Well, let's go back to this map here. So the main starting area, I tried really hard to not destroy anything. I wanted to upkeep it. This is one of the first buildings I made, this awkward shape. And then the rest of the base just kind of grew symmetrical around this one weird, awkward building that I kind of regret. But I guess it gives a character. There's so much going on here. I'm actually experiencing a little bit of like, I think it's rendering lag on the client. So me spending more time over here with less logistics pipes, I'm hoping I can just keep using logistics pipes. I'm not in a rush to use applied energistics, even though I really like that mod, like a lot. I've been having so much fun with these logistics pipes that I'll be talking about a lot here. Having so much fun with them that I'm not in a rush at all to upgrade. But these can be a little bit laggy, I guess, because you're doing a lot of rendering on the client. So, logistics pipes. This network's going to be a little weird because it's a little tiny segment one, but every logistics network needs a, where is it here? A power junction. And it's really easy to power. The thing uses like no power. I should clarify. The way I'm using it, it uses no power. Potentially, you can actually use these pipes to push RF to machines. So instead of having to run a power conduit to a redstone furnace, you could use these pipes to insert items plus carry power. But from watching the YouTube videos I'd seen on the matter, it looks very complicated. Actually, as a matter of fact, can I pull out this guy? This logistics pipe controller? So you can do all kinds of stuff in here. Play with some visuals. I haven't tweaked that at all. I think this is default. But if you go up to these connectors, see how this is unrouted? Unrouted's a boring pipe. There's nothing interesting. But if you can find a basic one, you need basic pipes, basic logistics pipes at junctions. But unrouted are just kind of pathways. They don't have any kind of logic to them. But if I click on this basic one, you'll see logistics pipes here. You'll see all of these weird little guys. I don't know how most of these upgrades work. These weird rectangles. I'm using these bigger cards, a lot of them. We'll see here shortly. But I'm not using any of these. And it's because you can stick them into here. And that just goes down like a crazy rabbit hole of like nonsense. I don't know security. Security in modded Minecraft seems questionable at best. I would never trust it. Oh, I didn't even know what that is. I wonder what this is. And then we'll talk about that later. That basically is unfinished work if a pipe is working. And I don't know what the red sparkles mean. I know purple means it's working, but every once in a while it has this really weird red sparkle, and I don't know what it means. Same with that blue and yellow sparkle. I don't know what it means. Okay. So, the chassis. The chassis is kind of cool because it allows you to put in these modules that I was talking about, the bigger cards. The polymorphic's cool. There's nothing to configure. Basically, it's a high priority device from what I can tell, that if you're bringing items into your logistics network and you've got a polymorphic item sync on it, it will try to jam items into an inventory if they already exist. That's all it's doing, is it's matching. It's saying, hey, you're storing, Minecraft dies in these drawers. So it's going to prefer to put them into here over anywhere else, which is insanely cool. Because, where's a good example? I was a little worried about this. See these capacitors here? I've got so many of this type, like 3,000 basic capacitors, 1,600 double. If I was to go to my EnderIO stuff, which is where... Oh god. Am I blind? You know what, here's a good idea. How can I find EnderIO? If I ask for a tank, I just saw it come out of this one. Oh, okay, I'm blind. It's right here. That's how I'm finding out which items are in which chest. I request them, I see them leave, and I'm saying, oh, that's the one. So this chest here basically is just EnderIO stuff, I think. And what's really cool is I click on this guy. So again, we got the same polymorphic item sync. If an item already exists in here, it will try to match them. But if there's a better match, it'll go elsewhere. I don't know what happens, in the circumstance that this has a polymorphic and the storage drawer network does, but that doesn't matter. Provider. Provider's really cool too. tells this remote orderer, it makes it know about the contents of this chest. If I was to not have a provider module in this chest, my system could put items into it, but it wouldn't know they were there to pull them back out. So that's why I'm using these Mark V chassis, is because I have all this room. You can see a lot of room I'm not even using. It's for future plans. So that's cool. This is a depositor. This is a extractor, pretty much. And then this remote orderer. You also have this requesting table, which is like this is like a wireless inventory versus this is a inventory you have to come over to. But it's the same thing. You can request stuff. It's really cool. I like it. Losing my train of thought here. Mod-based item sync, also really cool. So I've told it, hey, EnderIO add-ons, or Red Sonic, if any of the items match, go into here. But you'll notice there's no capacitors. So even when items are coming through this ender chest and getting it put into my system, even though the first thing they're going to run into would be one of those chests, it knows, hey, you're storing them here, so we're going to, keep putting them in here. So I really like that. Same with all these Minecraft dies. If we go over to these 3 chests, you'll see it's the same setup, but the mod sync is set to Minecraft. Same with that one, and same with this one. And the reason is see, some of this stuff should have its own drawer, actually. Deal with that stuff later. I can always... Oh, I'm thirsty. I need a sip of water. I can always tweak, right? God, I would love to know. I would love to know what that sparkle's about. And I'm just dying of thirst here. Okay. I don't think there's any more point looking at this stuff. It's all kind of the same idea. I've just kind of adding things as I need them. If there's not a lot of blocks from a certain mod, I say, you know what, you guys can all share a spot. But essentially, I can keep building this taller. So that's cool. This side's a little different. I was going to try to do requesting. So that's a bad example because that's logistics pipe stuff. Well, minus this chest, oh my goodness. There's a reason I have all this stuff. There's a very good reason. But yeah, some of the stuff should have a drawer. Moving on. Aha, here we go. These bad boys. So, the machine, the resonant guy, is pretty slow to make. And then it's nested, right? I actually have all this automated now, which is pretty sweet. But what's really cool is, since it takes so long to make these, I've actually asked my system to keep like a threshold if it can. So like right now I'm noticing we're actually low on capacitors. It should have a stack of capacitors, but it must be missing an ingredient. So if we click on here, you'll see instead of having the green item sync to match mod type, what I can do is an active supplier. It will try to maintain this amount of items in this chest partially. You can set it to, there's different modes, but in this instance, partial is do what you can. So you can see there, and if we go to something like this, I set the numbers a little higher. That's cool. And then a lot of these are actually empty. I'm not even using most of these chests. This chest is kind of cool. It's my ingots, and it's the same idea. I got all these active suppliers. This is the max quantity you can stuff in here, is 127, which is basically 2 stacks, right? So anytime I need an item, I at least have a few that I can use. And then my system is smart enough to top up after. So a lot of these are empty. You can see I've got a couple quantities set for cables. So as I'm building my infrastructure, I want to always have the stuff, on hand. So my system's always refilling. Just allows you to build your system up, I guess, if materials are easy to get. So this guy's real special. The system connector. When you build a logistics item card, we search for that here. You get 2 of them. And so they link. So basically what's happening is this system knows it can talk to my main system, and it can talk to any other system for that matter. It's part of the network. It's like it was connected, but it's bridged through an ender chest, because if you put items into this ender chest with the same color combination, see how this one says blue, white, lime? A chest with another color combination, it basically treats it as the same storage device. So it's passing items through here is what's going on. Every once in a while you'll see items whiz through. So that's cool. You just have to remember to have this power junction. So this is my new storage area. I hope that made sense and wasn't too long-winded. It's kind of tough trying to figure out what you want to talk about and what you don't want to talk about. Like, I want to keep talking about logistics pipes, but I passed by this really ugly looking building. God, I'm talking too much here. My mouth is running dry. Okay. So this building's ugly because it's one of the first ones I made. So I just had, colored cobblestone and, whatever. But I'm actually shocked at how difficult this was. You really take for granted how newer versions of modded Minecraft work. The things they've learned, lessons learned kind of thing. So this is a spawner. You can move a spawner with a cardboard box, which is normal, right? From Mechanism, you can pick up a spawner. In this version, there's no way to do redstone control, like to turn the spawner on and off, just a vanilla spawner. So, and you also can't just make it spawn indefinitely when the player's not around. However, after doing a lot of Googling, somebody in an old Feed the Beast forum said, hey, if you put a spawner on a block of cursed earth from Extra Utilities, remember this guy here? Extra. That's probably the worst way to search for cursed earth. Remember this old ritual you used to do? With the division sigil. Anyways, if you put that on the cursed earth, it will spawn indefinitely regardless of where the player is. As long as it's in a loaded chunk, it will make that spawner work. You can see it's trying to spawn right now. However, after doing a lot of testing in creative, I don't remember if I saw this on a video. No, I did see this somewhere, but unfortunately I have no clue who it was. So scouring the YouTube for ways to make farms in 1.7.10. If you put a redstone lamp in every single block space, it lights up 15 light level directly below it. 1 block, 2 block, which is the spawning position of the blaze. So light actually can turn off a blaze spawner as long as every single in this grid is lit up. It actually disables it, which stunned me. I did not know that that was a thing. So yeah, this is my early way of getting blaze rods, but I don't even know what I have now. This system, yeah, 5,000. The powder's from Sieving. The rods are from this farm, but this farm never runs. I can't remember. It's been since day 500 or something since the last time this farm ran. I have an override switch. Same thing, red net. There's cursed earth here and here. You can kind of see these fans with the levers. Open block fans are pushing them in. I don't want this to run, so I got more lamps lighting up the cursed earth. We can go down. And again, some, you know, red net stuff, eh? Like page 1, 2. Boring stuff. I think I made a video on it. So we got a mob crusher there that gets loot from the blazes that drop or any of the cursed earth mobs that come from this cursed earth dirt. My early attempt at trying to do automation before I had a lot of the better stuff unlocked. So this place badly needs to be torn down and redone. That's kind of also why it looks meh. And what's annoying too is these fans are constantly blowing me, the player. It's the same idea. I have this junction powered by the yellorium and the ice. You know, you got your, I forget what it's called, thermoelectric generator. Just a trickle charge is all it needs. It's got tons of power. And it runs this little sub network, which is connected to my main network over, oh, right here. The system connector is connected over this chest. So what's really cool about this is anywhere in my base, if items are getting dumped in, like rotten flesh or essence, like at my my zombie head farm, if I throw that junk into my ender pouch to deposit into my system, it knows to come here. Because again, we have that polymorphic, where is it? Oh, so I don't use the controller in this instance, I use the slave, which is just basically giving you an extra block face. You know, I think it was Direwolf that famously said, unfortunately blocks only have 6 sides. Well, this slave just gives me an extra side to interact with. So again, provide my system can request anything from here, and then the polymorphic, anything gets matched. And because of the high priority with those polymorphic upgrades and these little voided drawers, we click on this, we'll see they're upgraded and they're voided. I don't see the sense in having huge inventories of junk, so I've kind of just left them at low tier, you know, obsidian levels. I'll increase them if I need to. And I have not done a single thing with these loot bags, which is crazy in this playthrough to not have, you know, a system that gets certain key pieces out of them. I just went straight for logistics pipes and automation. Oh, what am I trying to say? Any junk, like loot bags, stuff that like I accidentally pick up, if I throw it in my chest, it will know to come here, and since these are all full, it'll just start trashing them. So it's a really cool way to clean stuff up. And then I can increase the thresholds as I want. Like, there's my 90 zombie heads from my farm. It's kind of an area that, you know, was consolidated and it just has mob drops. I haven't done a lot with any of this stuff. This crate here, if I can reach it. If it doesn't have a home in a drawer, it comes here. If I've not filtered it through any of the other these trash cans up there. So basically it just allows me, in case I drop, you know, a sword or something, it doesn't get immediately trashed. I can come back and retrieve it. And every once in a while, you know, that osmium sword, I could add it to my trash can if I felt like it. What's really key is that's a gate up there. It's hard to see. And it's looking at this inventory. I wonder if I can actually click on it. These fans are going to make it really awkward. So if the inventory's full, put the red pipe true. So right now the inventory is not full. We see how it says if we've got space in the inventory, it goes true because there is space. And right now it's false. So right now we're not sending a red pipe signal because the inventory is not full. If that becomes full, I don't want, you know, junk to start piling up, right? I want the system to turn off and not lag me out with all these junky items. So what it does is through that red wire there, it connects to this gate. And then this gate says, okay, if the red pipe signal's on, then turn the redstone on, which talks to this red net cable, which tells that PLC up there to not run. It's basically saying, hey, your storage is full, don't run. But it's an OR, because I've also got it manually overridden here. So that's cool. But yeah, that needs a redesign. Oh, and the top floor is even funnier. That was such a waste of time. That was like one of the... I've had a few wastes of time in this mod pack. But I really needed experience, so I made another blaze spawner. Whoops. Those fans are pushing me around. Another blaze spawner with the exact same design as this blaze spawner. Except what does it do? It's for experience. Oh yeah, there's a diamond spike in here, which acts kind of like a player kill. And it fills this drum, which then fills this tank. But ever since I got those cows, I don't need it. And it was the same idea. This switch, if this drum is full, which it is, it goes to that redstone transmitter, which actually does go up top and turn those lights on. So the farm is not running. Ah yes, the wall. I decided I wasn't going to build my base any, let's say, any wider than it already is. This is the footprint. I built this wall. I just didn't really finish it because it's tough. I don't know how I want it to look. Oh yeah, then that's my mining subway going to the cow farm we discussed earlier. I was toying with the idea of putting smelteries here, but then after building all of those smelteries, I realized they're kind of laggy. So I really should actually just tear that down and move it. I want to keep all my smelteries to one area. What else? What else can we talk about here? Here's another first build. Tree farm. This is my Bob Ross moment. I think it's the coolest thing. What's a good example? Chests. Or not chests, crafting tables. If your system uses a bunch of wood, which after asking for 2 stacks, it will, you can see spruce logs are just getting ripped out. The system comes to life. It's like an art piece. It's actually a sculpture in my game that's constantly kind of changing shape. And every time I come out here, it looks a little different, which is kind of cool. It's something that made me think I got to do more stuff like this. And I don't really think I have, besides taking the exact replica of it over there. That one doesn't look as cool because these spruce trees grow really tall. So it looks kind of cool, like a little art piece. But here's another little, I keep calling them subnets, like applied energistics, but it's a system connector linked through an ender chest. I haven't actually shown in this video yet the main logistics pipe area, what I consider main. I've just kind of shown, here's one system, there was another system, and then there was my storage system up there. But we'll get there in time. Same idea, we have a gate here. So I didn't know this when I first started playing with logistics pipes. I had to watch quite a few tutorials on YouTube to understand the gist of them. I didn't know they were like an add-on for BuildCraft. You can actually connect BuildCraft pipes to these. I haven't done a lot of it. I've just done it where I actually see they connect. It's kind of cool. But because they're an add-on for BuildCraft, these BC transport gates work with logistics pipes, which is the coolest thing, and I had never really seen it done in anybody's videos that I had watched back in the day. And unfortunately, I don't think logistics pipes is around anymore, which is too bad because I'm having like an absolute blast playing with it. But basically, space in the inventory. If there's space, then put the redstone pipe on. And so there's no space in the inventory, so turn the pipe off. Which you can do too, actually. They don't seem to work. Unfortunately, I'm having issues making these things work with storage drawers. It's kind of a long topic. Space and inventory for spruce tree. Yeah. You can set item types up. See how it's full? So if there was space, the red pipe would come on. It's off right now, even though it looks like it's on. And then same thing. I'm going to get my words twisted, but basically this harvester is disabled by redstone because I'm looking at this chest saying, man, your drawer's full. Don't chop more wood down. And then the saplings get voided. I kept them early on because they were a great way to get dirt. Dirt's actually really hard to get in this pack. It still is for me kind of at this moment. No, that's not true actually. The Erebus bug dimension, I can now vein mine dirt if I go there. There's a weird issue though, that when this thing stops, it chops trees so quickly. There's a influx of extra logs, and what was happening was if they weren't going here, they were getting pushed into this chest, and then I guess ending up in my random storage back at the base. So I made it so it wouldn't do that, and the side effect is the items spill on the ground. So we have a vacuum hopper, which unfortunately is plugged. I did not realize that. Oh, this is a dumb mod too, because the cobblestone was blocking the trash can, it was just not sucking anything up. We filtered it, right? Because we don't want to drop tools and have them get trashed by accident. So yeah, that's my story. And I don't know if you noticed, but this remote orderer that I carry around, we'll talk about it, but the Ender Pouch is like my backpack, right? I always lose my backpack. I always lose stuff, whether I trash it or what. So this way, as long as I keep the white, Ender Pouch is my tools. If I lose it, I can always just, make another one. It's a linked device, right? So I've configured it so when I ask for items, they actually come in my backpack. I try to keep the backpack about half full of free room versus tools I want to interact with. I guess this could go back too. Every once in a while, I got to scan through here and make sure it's not full of just silly stuff. And the Ender Pouch is how I deposit items back into my system rather. And I think it's on the wiki page or the FTB. I did not come up with this neat little interaction. I would have hoped I would have thought about it, but eventually, but I don't know that I would have. So that's cool. If we go down here, my early lava gen, I made a few upgrades to it here and there, replacing the torches and lava with Yellorium to give it a 50 times melt speed, better pipes. But basically it's kind of unchanged. It's the lava that powers my whole base. Little cobble gen there. My old immersive engineering. I use these little thermal generators everywhere. Same thing, I got a power junction and I got a planter. And of course, all kinds of logic, hey, active supplier. So we're telling it to always keep 8 spruce trees in here. I don't know why I decided on 8. But yeah, it's kind of neat. That's the tree farm. This is an exact replica tree farm. I only made it because I needed the plastic for MineFactory Reloaded. Nope. Factory Reloaded. What does it look like? This stuff. This plastic from this rubber. But it's an exact copy of that guy. It just doesn't look as cool because it doesn't grow tall. I really need to actually go into the main logistics pipes area. Maybe I'll talk about this furnace array real quick. Here is yet another subsystem linked by Ender Chest. So again, it's got its own power supply. And the whole point of this system is got these chassis 5s again. This time they're configured, instead of inputs coming in and then getting an output, I've got it configured to satellite 5. So if I put in this compound, it expects to get this out. And the same with the binder. You just program in a recipe. You look at your binder. Okay, one of those is 4 of those. You make it match. So what's happening is this is satellite pipe 5. I guess I could just show it. That would probably make more sense, wouldn't it? Can we ask for... Let's actually ask for conduits. A stack, because we only have 20. So hopefully... It's not going to ask for send binder, is it? We'll just ask for a couple stacks. That's still a wrong thing I'm asking for. Oh, wait a second. No. Yeah, this isn't cooked. This is not going to demonstrate at all what I wanted to show. Okay. Fortunately, I got to make this number bigger than that number. So it's going to send it all to my bag. We'll see it slowly show up here. And what's going to happen is this guy's now going to request saying, hey, I need some of that binder. So what it does is, because it's configured to sending to satellite 5, it's going to put items into here. Or is it? $1 million question. I think I know what's going on. So I'm sure I'm reaching the breaking points of this mod, but I've noticed on world load, because I think everything's chunk loaded. Oh no. Okay, good. It is actually sending items. It must have had to make a bunch of stuff. Just going to return them. My bag doesn't get full here. There's a periodic glitch that happens I'll have to address later. But basically, it's going to push those items in, and then the furnace array is set to just send stacks to the furnaces. And it's got lots of room, so I can send a lot of stuff at once. So the inputs come in on satellite 5, but the outputs come to this chest. And since the crafter does the requesting, it wants to see the returned output. So it has to be in on a satellite, out on the chassis, if that makes sense. The way autocrafting works is a lot different than applied energistics. And I got a whole bunch of other, recipes. And this one's completely empty, just future proofing. So it's a pretty fast way for me to, ask for items. I made a lot of smelteries, as you can see early game. I think I actually broke this one, but it was just putting cobble into here, melting it into seared stone, and then I've got, a full drawer of seared brick, which allowed me to easily make all of those smelteries, because this system basically just ran and generated materials for me based on this cobble farm here. And now what does it do? Now it puts cobble into here to melt it to make lava to run. I could totally tear this down and just throw an ender tank here with lava. This is one of my first primitive lava setups. That's how old it is. Crazy. And this poor guy was my main smeltery. It had all kinds of, pieces, and was constantly filling this chest up with just stuff. I'm so glad that I have stopped using it. And of course I got a manualum cow, so I'm just, abusing it. I keep a stack in my bag to fix all my tools. And yeah, that is the bottom part of this tower. So we got the nether and the aether. Got a sound muffler because, my goodness, that is an annoying noise. I'm not going to go in it. It's a cool mod. Like, scratch that. It's a cool enough mod. I don't understand why it's so popular. It's neat. The clouds are really cool, but I died too much in that world, so I've got a grudge against it. Aha. So early on, I thought I was going to automate tons of solar panels because I had auto-crafted. I had started auto-crafting them, I should say. I think I've done this tier, this tier, and it's quite recursive, but the power's not great, so I've kind of stopped using it. And the only reason I use it now is because I got this giant battery bank. So it charges during the day and it gets about 7,000. And I think my system only uses like 3,000. But for the time being, it's tolerable. But you can tell it's kind of ugly back here. That's not decorated at all. At some point, this will get destroyed. It was just put there quickly. I don't know why, but when I first started building, I said, I want this weird, floor pattern. I don't know what you call this piece, but this tower ended up being one tower in the interior upstairs, but underneath it's got this weird little hallway that goes to nowhere, versus all my other plots are individual buildings. It's all built out of cobblestone and I guess these iron factory blocks, which is kind of cool. So yeah, it's neat, but it's just clean this stuff up too. It's neat, but it's not super good looking. Okay, so this is cool. I think it probably needs an upgrade, or maybe I should stop using sieving and I should just move on to, ore miners and excavators or whatever exists. I've kind of just left it. I've got an amazing surplus of materials. Like if I look up iron, I've got 53k blocks. And then if I need ingots, the system downcrafts the blocks into the ingots. If we look at something like gold is probably what I have the least of. Yeah, so 53k compared to 1k. It's still quite a bit. I've not really had an issue where I couldn't make something because I didn't have these basic metals. So it's keeping up. I just kind of leave it. I could probably speed it up, but I haven't. You would not believe early game, whether it was my second or third episode, like making these compacting drawers was insane because you didn't have an automation system that made it for you, right? You had to make them. So, the compactor required the pistons, which needs this red stuff, which is, cooked with all this redstone, and sieving this stuff early game. You get sad burning up all your redstone. It's really hard to get. Same with, again, that. The drawers aren't bad, and the rest of this isn't bad. So just the cost early game of sinking your redstone into that kind of hurts. What I did here was I got, what is this? Ore, dust. Okay, so how does this work? The sieving. You take cobblestone, you can actually hammer compressed cobblestone in this version, and you get like 9 pieces. No, you don't. You get compressed gravel from that. I've tried to balance them a long time ago. Like I said, it's been a long time since I actually looked at this stuff. We got a full drawer of cobble, a partial drawer of gravel, full drawer of sand, full drawer of compressed. So the system's not really balanced, but it's not like something's empty, right? All my drawers have stuff in them, so it's good enough. The speed, 7, and then gravel down to compressed sand, a 4 speed upgrade, no speed upgrade, and then I was going to do nether and the endstone. I made plans, and it's kind of funny because I just never ever came back to that. Should go upstairs there. Notice the FPS is a little bit chunky right now. So this is kind of my first foray, my first attempt at learning these gates was, so you got this chassis on here. So polymorphic. If the item can go into here, it will, right? So that's cool. I'm just realizing I potentially have a mistake I need to address. I had a firewall in here that I got rid of because I didn't think I needed it, but I'm realizing now that maybe I did need it. But I digress. Polymorphic. If it can fit, it goes in. We got the gate here. So if there's space in the inventory for dust, sand, or compressed gravel, it does these colors. See how this one's clicking on and off? These ones are saying, yes, there's space. You know, keep making more with the hammerers. Because if these hammerers have nowhere to put items, they don't just stop. They just start puking items onto the ground. So it's kind of my early failsafe, right? And then unfortunately, I could not do the same thing for the sieves. Because the sieves generate, you know, a multitude of different types of blocks. So, you know, if one was to fill up like iron, it would make the whole system turn off to the other stuff. So these things just kind of run indefinitely. And it's not really been a problem actually, because I have void upgrades on here, but they're basically all empty. So nothing's been getting voided. It's all getting converted into blocks and handled appropriately. But yeah, occasionally if I notice it's a little laggy and I'm doing building in here, I will sometimes just turn this off, and then it tells the vibrant capacitor to stop outputting power. So after a little while here, these machines are just going to slowly burn. Once they stop, a bit of the FPS lag does go away because these items are not flying around. A while back I made a video on the Opus mod. It's a profiler. If I was to type Opus, profiler would pop up and I could do cool things like I showed in the video. I don't want to do it now that I'm streaming because I don't know what it'll break. It's a different window than this window, so I don't know, you know, picture in picture what happens. But this is the most overworked block in the entire game. It does the most thinking, the most ticking. It's the laggiest block. So every once in a while I check on it, but it's not horrible, so I kind of leave it. Hasn't caused me problems yet. But like I said, I'll keep this system running because it's not like I have a lot of emeralds. Like diamonds, I only have, you know, 1,600 diamonds. And everything's set to void. The green ones are because I've got tons of it, but ultimately it's voiding stuff that it doesn't need. And if we go look at all this stuff, you'll see that, oof, that one's full. Zinc. Maybe some of these are getting voided. Iron. Tons of iron. Copper. Okay. So, one last thing. Again, extractor. You extract. There's no config. You just extract the loot out of the sieve. Active supplier. I'm telling it, hey, you know, put 32 dust in here. You know, put 32 sand in here. Just so they're not always full. I don't know why I did that. I guess learning the mod, right? Cool. A while back, I had a little bit of gold getting sieved in here. Just to get some of this stuff, but I kind of just stopped. I really should set up that nether siever, but I haven't. So if we go up, this is kind of my pride and joy, sort of, kind of, maybe. When I was playing this, and then I'd have to go to work, and I was thinking, man, how should I try to, you know, how should I handle all these resources? Because it gets overwhelming, right? Early game, you just don't have good automation. There's too many items, not enough storage. It's just a gopher running around from chest to chest to chest trying to find stuff. I thought it'd be cool to have a smeltery that just cooks everything. I don't know what it does for lag. I do know there's, you know, rendering lag or client lag in here, but the game doesn't seem to. When I ran that Opus thing, this room doesn't have an issue. It just has an issue with my client, if that makes sense. Basically, every single one of these smelteries is set up the same. We click on the chassis. We are active supplying 12 types of dust, the sand, the gravel. Ignore this. This is for something different, I guess. I guess iron's a little different. The rest of them look like... Oh, gold's different too because it has nether stuff. Besides those two, they all look like this. Just putting enough materials in that if something gets full, it doesn't overflow, right? There's actually a couple spaces of room here. We're full of copper. We are trying to pull copper out. We're trying to go into the drawer. The drawer's got 10,000 blocks of copper, so that's cool. All my copper is just hanging out here. And if I request copper, this is a provider block. Notice you can make chassis, which lets you insert these cards to do things, but you can also just make sometimes you can make a full block version of it. So instead of having to use a card module, I can use just a block. And it's a provider. And it provides whatever's in this inventory, which is copper. And if I need ingots, what I can do is I've got a recipe programmed here. It's trained to say, hey, if you've got copper blocks, you can make copper ingots. So this is the logistics pipes crafting table. I just programmed it. Take a block, get ingots. And for like example, if I was to ask for, a stack of copper, see they get yanked out of here quickly, got put up there, pushed out, and then they're going to be sent to my ender pouch here. So that's cool. Yeah, this iron was for something different. If we look at an anvil takes some 30, I don't know if it's 36. What is it? 3 times 9 is 27, 8, 9, 30, 31 pieces of iron ingots makes an anvil. If I was to, induct it with just basic old sand, which is nothing, right? I got tons of sand, you get slag. Plus you get all 31 pieces of iron left. And the slag I needed for, I had to turn into rock wool. And the rock wool I needed to make the machine base, which then required, anything in RF tools. And I use a lot of this stuff, so I needed the machine base. So that's why iron's a little quirky. Was for getting me slag from inducting an anvil. Oh yes, the obsidian one's actually a little different too. We got all these obsidian pieces. You can see we got a drawer here full of obsidian. I used the key to turn the labels off. I was told that maybe it gets rid of some of the rendering lag. But same idea, we have a provider that there's no configuration in here. I guess if this was a large chest full of different items, you could pick which items you wanted to provide, but if it's empty, it just provides whatever is in there. And since it's a drawer, it only provides that one item. What do we got here? If there's space in the inventory for obsidian, then turn the pipe high. So right now the pipe's low because there is no space, it's full. And then what happens is if it can run, or sorry, no, it's not. I'm always getting my words twisted. There's no room, so we're disabling the pipe. And same thing up here. There's no room, so we're disabling the pipe. And these are fluid things. And if you needed a reason to use logistics pipes, this is a huge reason right here. This supplier, you can say, click on it, oh no. And you can pick all of these different types of materials. There's water. Here's your parameters. So 1000 water to 1000 lava. I've configured it to only put in that much. Where is the front of this thing? So because there's no room, it's not going to put anything in there. But it's a 1-to-1. It turns into obsidian, and then it gets output. So yeah, we got water getting pushed in, and then our, lava tank getting pushed in here. What's this thing? The provider pipe. Oh, this provides whatever's in this tank. So it knows lava, and it knows water, and this thing's asking for it. So it sends little canisters of water and lava into the smeltery, which is pretty darn cool. And what's this? Hardened glass. Oh, yes. If I could learn to type. Hardened glass. So if you pour 72 millibuckets of lead, 72 millibuckets of lead on obsidian, you get that. So of course, these awesome gates. There's an item, obsidian, in the basin, then go high. So there is one. So it goes high. And then this thing, again, same disable logic. Where am I looking? I'm looking for this guy though. I can actually ask for exactly 72 millibuckets of lead. And that prevents me from having issues where, you know, the casting basin fills up with lead when there's no obsidian in there. So very, very cool. And again, there's a provider on it, so I can request this stuff from anywheres with my remote orderer. And here's the other materials. Nothing super interesting here, I don't think. Guess all the specialty stuff was right here. I guess lead's special. Why do I have lead? Oh, this is lead. There's a provider. This is how cool logistics pipes is. This network is providing lead. So anywhere on my network can ask for lead. And it just so happens that right over here is the guy who's asking for a little bit of lead. Right there. So I could potentially have this, you know, a system anywhere, like over there, asking for fluids, and it gets sent that way. I'm sure there'll be performance losses, but whatevs. Okay, it's been about an hour and 15, and I am still just yammering on. So here is the crafting area. You can see the system is abuzz. Is there any way I can like demonstrate when it comes to life? And one of the first things I ever made was that compacting drawer, which isn't as impressive now, but like let's say I ask for, I don't know, 30 of them. Maybe I'll use 30, I don't know. So we ask for 30, it can send 15 or so, then it's going to have to make the other ones. So then it's like, boom, system comes to life, things are happening, items are getting tossed out. We can type in the whole Forge TPS. We can see we're now at 7. That's actually the highest I've ever seen it because of all that work. And yeah, if you come up to these pipes with this controller, you can click on them. You can see, hey, you're waiting for those. You can also click into them and actually see what it's waiting on. It helps you troubleshoot to see what's possibly broken, because I do have issues where stuff's broken. You can see how if you wanted to update an autocraft, like something was broken or you had to troubleshoot it, or you wanted to, you know, change the way you were autocrafting. Sometimes there's different ways, there's more efficient ways as you progress. You basically have to request something, stand here, look at where it exists, and run over there and fix it, which is why I have this scaffolding I can walk on. I can come here and provide maintenance. It's like my utility walkway. And again, I have no clue what the red means. We go to our compacting drawer and boom, it made those 15 or so compacting drawers. So that's cool. This is kind of one of my first rooms too. I keep having firsts. I don't know why I keep saying that, but it's my first storage room. I'd kind of set up the, you know, power junction in the corner here with my requesting table before I had access to the remote orderer and the ender bags. I had to do it all from here. And it's not bad, right? But I definitely love having the ender pouch system. Occasionally, I'll just slap down crafting tables and crafters. And I think I've already said it, but basically you put your recipe in. This doesn't really matter, just kind of, I don't know, it works itself out. I think you shift, you shift click, right? If I was to make a pickaxe, I'm struggling to remember here. Yeah, you shift click this and then it puts it in. That's cool. If I was to go to drawers, just as an example here, and actually do this. Ooh, didn't want to do that. No, compact. I think it's compacting. If I was to do something like this, see how you can have different types of items? You got to pick which one you want. So there's all different types, right? But you can click most likely, and it seems to do a quick scan of your system, and it says, hey, you got a lot of spruce drawers, which is my type of wood, right? So it knows, just by clicking this button, it figures out what I need, which is kind of cool. So I should convert this back to a pickaxe, just so it's not broken. And then when you come to this crafter, you can click import, and it'll just learn automatically what it needs to put in and what it's expecting out. I've never really played with these priorities at all, so yeah. Again, we've got obsidian getting pushed into a basin with resident ender. This one breaks from time to time. I really need to tear this area down and rebuild it. But I'm making endstone that way. And I'm making pearls by just casting the resident ender from the fluid cow into a casting table. And again, you can provide... My system knows about these pearls because there's a provider. And notice this one says it's a Mach 2 versus some of the other ones I had shown were Mach 1s. One of them sends a whole stack versus one of them only sends an item. See, they gave you a little bit of a story there. Where is the provider? Attaches to an inventory, sends 16 items on a request versus the provider Mach 2 sends a stack. So I really should go around now that I've got more money, because in the beginning I didn't have, you know, diamonds to make a gear, or even gold for that matter, to make these things, let alone, you know, having this chipset. Now I have all this stuff. I really should go back and, you know, upgrade things, but I do it as I notice it. So yeah, this is just a mess. I set this here like it was going to be a project board when I make my YouTube videos of like a to-do list, because I can go in here and I can type in edit to-do. And basically all my lines are just in this, what do you call it, a list or whatever. I just type them between the quotations, and then this is what loads it and draws it on the monitor. Little simple script, but I don't really ever walk over here anymore, so yeah. And edit startup, in case you're wondering. Every time your game loads or the chunks unload and reloaded, the computer turns back on. So if you run a shell with your script, it kind of just makes it appear like it's always on. Just an auto loader is all it is. This is my very first storage room. I've since tore part of it down, but little bits of it are still here. This chest is special. You can see into it. There's nothing in it. I have an item sync module. It's the only chest, the only inventory in my entire system that is an item sync, a basic module that has default route yes. What that means is if my system has nowhere to put an item, it will put it into here. And I don't want that. I don't want to walk in here and see items are in here. It means it's not getting filtered properly. So I come here periodically from time to time and I'll address, you know, the odd random item. But for the most part, so many of those chests, remember, in that green building from earlier, are sorted by mod item type now, that most items are handled. But there's still the odd one from a new mod I come across. And if I ever send items in that don't have room or don't have a home, eventually they might. So then I tell it to extract. And if it can take an item out of here, it will extract it and put it to where it's supposed to. So it's kind of a weird chest. And what I have noticed too, actually, if I put an item in here and it doesn't go anywhere, it's just there because it's got nowhere to go, like nether ores, for example, don't have a special spot, so they'll just sit there. I wonder why it doesn't get sorted though into polymorphic. Oh, because it's just one type. Aha. Yeah, like if I was to split that stack, this knows it belongs there. This is actually really laggy. If I was to run that Opus profiler, I think because this extraction guy is constantly trying to pull it out, it's actually laggy. I've tested it a few times, but if I make sure this thing's empty, it goes down considerably. Early on, this was one of my basic active suppliers. There's probably still a few items in here, like stone and these crafters. I have my system always ready to give me crafting tables and pipes, which is what all of that auto crafting is up there. So anytime I have to come into this room and add a new recipe, I just walk here, I grab, you know, the 4 of these, the 4 of those, and it'll make me more. Yeah, this really should get moved and sorted. Like a lot of this stuff has a better home now, so if I was to pull that out and stick it in, you'll see it's actually going to go to the storage tower ender chest right there. And get sorted in my green tower. This is a real lazy furnace, still running on charcoal. If I just quickly need to cook one thing and I don't want to program a recipe into my furnace array back there, I'll just drop items in, they go into the chest, and then again, you know, it gets told to get sucked out with the extraction upgrade. And if it's got nowhere to go, of course, it'll just go right there. What's this? Provider. Why would I have done this? Oh. So sometimes, this is weird. So I can request items with this, right? And then it goes to my ender pouch. And then I can request items with the table, of course. And then if I was to request something, it would come here. Like, you know, request some lapis, and it's going to get sent from way over there. Something else. Eventually, there's the lapis. You know, I can request stuff when I'm done. I put it back, and then it knows to return the lapis back to the storage drawers, presumably, because they're not full. I hope. This guy's different. Let's say I have an item like zombie electrodes. And I just want my system to have some because I'm like, hey, you know, I'm going to be doing something right away. I should get this, you know, preloaded. If I request it like this through my orderer, they'll end up in my bag, which is annoying because I'll forget about them. Like, see these? I requested these earlier on in the stream video here that I'm making, and I already forgot that. The whole idea with this thing is I should be able to walk up, go to the head, or what's it called, the electrode, and say, you know what? Give me 10 of these. What happens is it wants to put 10 of them into here. And then since this guy has a provider on it, my whole system will know that those electrodes, even though they don't really belong in here, they're just going to get pushed in here because I asked for them to be kind of loaded into my system. Because what happens is, and it happens to me a lot still, I haven't broke the habit yet. If I come here and say, hey, you know what, give me those heads, and I request, nope, not heads, so what are they called, electrodes, and I request them, they'll go here. And you can't put a provider on this table to get the items out of it. So any of these items are not accessible to me if they're stuck in this table. So there's those heads. So now, later if I'm doing something with the electrodes, I've already got 10 kind of preloaded. And it does help when you're just running around, you've got so many things in your mind, you can quickly, you know, just start some items. Start some items crafting. This is a weird one. As far as I know in this version, you cannot automate extra utilities, the QED thing. If we look at the vibrant capacitor from EnderIO, you'll see that it is the QED, which is this weird thing. I guess there's 93 recipes. Wow. A lot of them are just junk, as you can see. But you can't automate it. I don't think you could push stuff in. You can't pull stuff out. So what I do here is I've got the Mach 5. Notice how these are all like crafting tables. When you push items, they're single. They're programmed to be a single thing, right? Like here's a pickaxe. Pickaxe is programmed in there. That's fine. This is the chassis, and a Mach 5 chassis has 8 slots. So we can look at each one. The farming station, the Agricraft farming station. Ooh, see, I even disabled this by accident. If we go to the farming, request this. So from my presumably green building, it gets sent over. Cool. Okay, I think that's fine. So here's a good example I can show. For whatever reason, I didn't finish this craft. Now my system knows that if it sends that and this, it should expect to get one of these back. I just taught it to do that. So now it's there. A minute ago that wouldn't have been there. So if I request this, something interesting happens. This guy comes to life. You can see that it's sending the materials. And it just so happens, I guess, that I have a farming station already set up, but it may have actually sent me all of this stuff. And what I would have had to have done was come here, you know, grab it, set it up, and then it makes it pretty quickly because I've got so many of these. But the key is I can't just walk away with this thing because my system is waiting. And from what I can tell, you cannot just cancel it. You have to actually break this pipe, which means spilling all this stuff on the ground. So you want to really make sure, otherwise it's a pain, that you finish something. And it was expecting that back, so it took it. But if I was to stick another one in there, it wouldn't take that one because it's not expecting one, if that makes sense. So it's done. So for those type of interfaces, you have to use this controller to see where the hang up is. If any of these were hung up, it would actually show up on the statistics table. You can actually see if there was something going on, and I clicked that button, you would see the progress. You'd see stuff is happening. Oh man, I'm regretting this. It's been an hour and a half now, and I am dying of thirst. Aha. So this one's a little interesting too. We have, oh man, maybe I should talk about my remote inventory system. So basically, white is my backpack, and then this is my deposit. So anything I put into this chest, you know, is getting returned. And the reason is because we're just extracting. There's no configuration to set. If something is in that chest, take it out. And if there's nowhere to put it, again, it just goes to that basic default chest. This is the special guy, the remote orderer. There's nothing to configure. You basically right-click it with a remote orderer, and if you ask for something from this interface, it will put those items into the attached inventory. So let's say Ender chests didn't exist, because I seem to completely abuse them, right, with this logistics system. What you can do apparently, which is kind of neat, is you could actually have them sending them to a minecart station, like a vanilla minecart, and then once it was to load that minecart, you could have it go off, and it would be like a depot, you know, sending and receiving items through minecarts, which is pretty cool. But that's whatever. So yeah, here's my tree farm rubber, my mob loot farm, my diamond furnace array, and my storage tower. And then this guy is partially set up, but I decided to not use it, so it's just kind of left dysfunctional. I don't know if there's problems having the network this big. I mean, you can tell right now my FPS just dropped to like 30s when I went like this. I don't know if it should be all one long run. Like what I noticed before was I had a really long run, and then whoops, this was at the end of the pipe, and it was actually, so I think the pipe ran like this, and that's where I power everything. So if this was the very end of the cable run before I added this connection, this thing was not talking, but now it is, so everything's cool. Whoops. Getting tired here. I keep clicking on the wrong thing. So we are constantly trying to keep 2 stacks of glass bottles in the drawer. We have a little extra. Cool. As soon as there's room, water bottles get filled. We got water bottles. And then this is a provider. And I think the reason, yes, the reason I have water bottles is because of salt. Yeah, just with a pot, it turns into salt. I don't know why I wanted the salt though. Oh, to make the binder. So this is actually a really important automation. Because with that binder, then you make the conduit binder, then you make all of your conduits that I use so much of. So that's actually a really important system. Okay, cool. So that's this weird little room. We go up a floor. We've already been here. And then up to the third floor, the top floor. So. Again, satellites. The way they work in logistics pipes. I have a few recipes set up here. Constantine plates are set to satellite 2. And, whoops, iron plates, satellite 2. So the system knows, hey, look for satellite 2. And it puts those items into here. And then the items get spit out, pressed, and they return here. And since this is the crafting card that asked for them, it will not rest until those items are in this chest. And I don't know how that got in there, but I was doing some tearing down with old cables and installing solar panels. I guess it fell in. And this is the same thing, except with gears. Originally I had doubled it up, 8 for 2, because I thought it was going to, come out one side, out the other side for speed and efficiency. But I'm running into issues where they don't like to share evenly, so I have them filtered. This guy only accepts these couple, and then this guy only accepts these couple. So at least the loads, somewhat split, right? And then here, more satellite stuff. Satellite 4. So what's going on here? Where's the crafting card? It says if I give it zinc and 3, expect 4 brass out, and send the items to satellite 4. So of course satellite 4 is pushing into the controller, and it will make me zinc bars. Why is this empty though? Extract. Oh, because it's not a provider, it's an extractor. I don't even have the second tier provider auto crafting yet. Aha. So I got 2 things that are broken here. Maybe I can actually take a hot second and actually fix something that I'm finding as I jammer on. Okay. So we go there, we grab those, and then the system should have come to life to replenish that stock. Return that item. Ooh. Okay, so I want the provider. I might as well use the chipsets now. Now I've got lots of them. They're not fully automated, but whatever. And then I already have that guy automated, so that's cool. And you just grab the wrench, you import the recipe. Everything's sweet. I will mention something here. I wasted a good 2 hours today trying to figure something out. These tables are called fuzzy tables. These tables are just basic. Most of this whole system is just basic tables. These 3 are fuzzy. Apparently, if you hover over this, you can turn on ignore damage or ignore NBT. That's all I needed. And what was happening is it was sending these items, but instead of getting this in return, it was just deleting it. It was just gone. It took me a long time to realize what was going on. because I was trying to craft the basic into the energetic, into the great, because the great battery you need for the mechanism energy tablet, which is used in all kinds of mechanism stuff, right? The energy cells. So that's cool. Once I got this fixed and I was using the fuzzy thing, that's cool, but it still wasn't working. And it's because when you do the import, it puts an item that has no NBT data in there, and same in there. So you actually have to manually craft them, place them in here manually, and then it works. So this was a super frustrating thing, but I eventually figured it out. So it's cool they have the fuzzy tables, but man, I completely forgot they existed because I only did this recently. So I spent like 1,000 days playing with logistics pipes. Scratch that. 1,000 in-game Minecraft days playing with logistics pipes. And I forgot these existed, but now I know. And now I won't remember. That's usually how that works. So, long story short, provider. Cool. So now that I've asked for that item, I can run to where I'm going to go build. I'm just realizing why. I'm on the wrong floor. Oh god, that's embarrassing. I don't know if I'm going to regret this, but I just realized I don't even need the full block. What I need is the module card. So this Mach 2 and this Mach 2 provider are the same functionality. One of them is just strictly a connector and one of them is a module. And I actually need the module, not the card. So my mistake is every time I ask for this, what is it? What's getting made? The brass. It's getting made, and then it goes into this drawer, and then it gets extracted out. I kind of want it to stay there, so it's not wasting my inventory elsewhere. So I'm waiting on a provider card. I wonder what the cost of this is. I bet it's still using the diamond gear recipe, so it's going to take a while waiting on diamonds. Oh, and then the gold. I really should update these recipes because they're probably using gold, which is an actual waste of gold ingots versus the chip, which is, oh, what? I thought they were 1-to-1. What is going on? Interesting. Gold is the only one that's a 1-to-4. That's really weird. I don't know what to make of that. Can't get sidetracked. Okay. Here's the provider. We throw them in now. So if we're looking for brass, and then if I just ask for more brass, I guess is a demo. It's going to send those extra 10 pieces to there, to the satellite. So copper came first, and then I think hopefully zinc should show up. There's the zinc. So cool, that's going to get made. So for now, I'm going to slap these brass blocks into here, but it's going to send me the 10 that I requested, if that makes sense. So this is much better, I think, to have as a provider. So the items all just kind of stay here versus getting sent to the green room. And the whole reason I think it makes more sense is because if I all of a sudden need ingots, which presumably is the more common thing, a block to go up to here to get turned into ingots to go back down, it's just a lot more, you know, quicker. So there's those 10 I requested, but I don't really need them. So, you know, I'll throw them in here and they'll eventually make their way back to here. And what's this guy? Different. See, that's extractor too. Constant tan. I wonder why I did that. Maybe I shouldn't. I'm going to leave it. I'm going to leave them different, see which one I like more. Immersive, constant coke oven. For the longest time, I was saving all this treated oil, or the creosote. And then I would, you know, oh my goodness, I didn't even see that. Make treated wood. That stuff, I just make it right here. Quick and dirty. I should automate it, I just haven't. You know, treated wood's what I build with usually. I've started avoiding it ever since I found a cow. I haven't set the cow up yet, but it is what it is. And the whole reason I just started avoiding it was because it kept turning off. And this is my steel production actually. Is iron slowly gets cooked. I don't even have boost upgrades on this thing, right? It's just slowly getting cooked with coke. Steel's getting put into here. And again, this must be an extractor. I wonder why I didn't put a provider on there. Oh, you know why? Because this is so far away from everything, maybe. I've got competing design decisions here. I don't know. Yeah, 1K steel. So a bunch of steel's kept somewhere else. The weird thing about steel too in this pack is, you know, the woes of Ore Dictionary. I have some recipes that need to use Tinker's Construct steel and some recipes that need to use immersive. So most of my stuff is stored as the block of steel and here, but I do have to change them for some recipes to this. Super annoying, but whatever. Yeah, on third floor I decided it needed a bridge. So here we are. I guess I could come here. EnderIO. This is one of the more late game items I've just automated. It's probably a good reason why my game is starting to get laggy. I'm getting more and more lazy. Because this system seems to constantly be on now. It doesn't run and shut off like a lot of my other systems. Yeah, see, we're back down at 4 milliseconds. This system right now is constantly going to run slowly, sending items in until this gets to about 2,000 items and then the drawer's full. And then it'll stop. But basically what's happening is this impulse hopper from EnderIO add-ons is really cool. I didn't know it started as an add-on, but basically I've programmed in the recipes. You need 4 pearls, 2 tin, a silver, and a shiny to make EnderIO. And it's configured for a rising edge pulse. So basically what's happening is the active supplier is setting a full request. So don't send these items unless they're all available. Send them. And shiny is kind of the rare item as far as I'm concerned. So if it passes, if this thing detects, you should see it here, it goes red. If it detects there's shiny in this inventory, go redstone high. So every time shiny goes in here and gets pulled into here, it causes a redstone pulse, which then causes this to push in the next batch. So this impulse hopper only sends these items in if it can send them in this exact ratio. It will not send in just 4 pearls if nothing else exists. Like, yeah. Notice it's just sending it's like a batch craft, if you will. So the ratio's maintained. This is happening, and it's getting pulled out as a block into here. And same story, we are providing the block, and then we are also downcrafting if needed from the crafting card there. Occasionally I just slap pipes down to do certain things. I think I had to infuse. Oh wait, this is my magical wood thing. I had to quickly make a bunch of magical wood. This was horrible to make. Can't autocraft that, but you can do this. So I had an ender tank full of essence or XP that I stuck here and quickly made my magical wood cleaver. So each one of these alloy smelters, this is overkill, this room. I just got annoyed that my system was not making dark steel because it was already making, like, you know, vibrant alloy or something stupid. So, you know, this guy's set to make energetic alloy. This guy's set to make aluminum. And basically what happens here, we have one crafting card. We've got our inputs, our no one output. So they go to the crate pulls the items in, it does its business, it sends them back, and then we've got a filter on here so it knows not to send the filtered or the finished product, you know, back into the smeltery, because I was having that issue with the earlier design. So that's cool. These are just all the different types of materials that I've got. I think I need more room. I'm just running out. I quickly slapped this here, the slice and splice, because what did I need here? The Franken zombie and the electrode. The same idea, you know, blacklist the finished products so they don't get sent back in. I can throw anything I want in here to sag, just quick and dirty. I would like to automate these dark steel because I have dark steel getting made over here, right? And everything that goes into dark steel I think is automated. I'd like to automate these balls because they increase your output chance by what? The 150%, 200% bonus chance. So they're pretty powerful. I just need to automate them. Now what's going on here is the silicone. As far as I can tell, if I was to cook down clay, you get a lot of silicone, but you get a chance of getting clay balls back. So the clay balls go back in, turn to clay, come back down, and then here is my 512 balls of silicone. And it is set to a provider, of course, yet again. So the whole point of this setup is just to get silicon. I don't think I've fully automated the clay part yet. I just have so much of it that, what do I have here? Yeah, 3,000. Every time it crushes, it has a pretty good chance of getting clay back, so it kind of lasts a long time. Here's my XP tank that was over there. Again, just making me certain types of EnderIO items. And I can totally automate this. I don't like how it's hanging over the edge here, so I'm going to probably tear it down and put it somewhere else. But it'll be automated eventually. And I'm expecting this will be made taller. I'm kind of unsure about it because I'm on the 3rd story of this logistics pipes tower, and it's basically pipes running from that one power block all the way, you know, through the floor to the top here. So I don't know how much higher I can go before I'm going to start running into even more issues. Maybe I should actually be splitting this tower down into, you know, ender chest networks like everywhere else. I'm kind of just testing the limits, if you will. I set this up today. I really needed octuple pressed cobblestone. I've got 1. I need like 10. Even though this is a new design, it's terribly slow. It's just not fast enough. I have a stack of world interactions, pumping them into here. Same with the stack, pumping those into there. These 2 drawers go into here, so you can see this number rises pretty quickly. But then after that, you know, it takes 30 seconds to notice a change here. And then it's exponentially slow. So that is a thing. What's down here? Oh yeah. So like I said, earlier videos had MineFactory steam turbine power generation down there. I tore them down just today. I've started mechanism, but nothing's automated. Just a little bit of power and a couple of the basic infusing stations to make some basic components for mechanism. But I'm very far from doing anything. This system. The system's not yet fully automated for inputs, but it is automated for the items, if that makes sense, like the outputs. If I was to ask for, you know, a stack of diamonds and then redstone, I would just come by every once in a while when I notice these lasers aren't running, and I could just refill it up again. And then when they get made, they drop into the vacuum, into the drawer, back to the chest, back to the main system. This guy's a little different. And then redstone blocks getting turned into crystallized redstone. See, got about 900 of that, about 900 of that. So they're pretty even now. I want to stop converting my redstone blocks into this stuff because I think I've got tons. You need it for, I think, for the chassis. Like, it is something I do need. This crystallized guy, it's just expensive. Redstone's still hard to get. I realize that's funny because I have a farm. Whoops. I have a farm, you know, way over that way, Agricraft 10-10-10 seeds. That's literally farming redstone. I just don't have the outputs yet coming back to me. So I should really, you know, fix that. It's like you're poor, but you're not poor. Like, I'm poor, I got no money in my wallet, but it's all in the bank. But yeah, I can just load this thing up, and then it just cycles through. As soon as it crafts this, if there was gold in redstone, it would jump to this one. It's pretty smart. I like how it works. It makes one, makes another one if the items are there. If not, it just keeps going back to whatever it can do. That's neat. So this guy, Tamat, is another YouTuber who's playing the Enigmatica 2 Expert Extended mod pack. And he watches my videos and I watch his videos. And he gave me a really good idea for automating the frames. If we click on this, all these frames. I think I showed it very, very early on in the video, but you notice that the recipes are all tiered, right? Like boom, boom, boom. So let's go down here. Inputs. So logistics pipes, crafting, BuildCraft lasers, thermal expansion frames, and then here's the satellite number 6. So these are actually grouped. Purple, white, red, and then this is purple, gray, red. So gray is kind of my subnet color now, and those are for my logistics pipes crafting. I don't think I talked about this. Versus my different networks are always blue, white, and then whatever color. And of course I can have 16 of these till I'll have to, you know, go blue-gray color. But yeah, that's my attempt at doing a standard. And I figured if all these chests are in this room too, I can easily see what's here. I can read the signs. I won't forget. It's kind of like my central ender chest. Not every ender chest I own is in here, but when I'm redoing stuff, I will try to make it so that's the case. So this is, again, a subnet system. We've got these 4 modules, but this is a little different. We are sending the chassis through the satellite 6, but the rest go through normal. And then the same with this. We are sending the frame through satellite 6, the rest through here. And then same thing all the way to this last guy, right? So if we run back, I'm going to turn this magnet off. It's going to give me grief, I know it. Okay, so which one's the satellite? The satellite's this gray one. So it's only the catalyst, I'll call it, that gets sent to satellite, and it just, whatever gets put in here gets extracted, gets put in, right? The rest of the items come to this chest, and then they go out. But we have to blacklist these items because I can't have, how do I say this without messing it up? If I'm trying to make the yellow guy, the hardened frame, but the inputs, the basic frame, Okay. The basic frame can't come through here because when it finishes, it gets sucked up by the vacuum hopper and it has to get returned to the chest because this is where the crafting logistics pipes is waiting down there, if that makes sense. So what happens is there's a race condition. Is more often than not from my testing, the EnderIO conduit will pull an item back into here before my logistics pipe network can see it and grab it from the other side. So that's why I have to split them and have the catalyst items come in this way, the other ingredients come in this way, and then when they finish, they get sucked up, get put back in here. And because these are not allowed, it allows the logistics pipe network to grab them, and then it's done. So that's kind of cool. So if we were to search up something like, I don't know, should I do a frame? Just to, might as well ask for 4 of these, right? Ask for 5. So my system is telling me to always, ooh, that's too many. Let's ask for 1. My system wants to keep 1 of these, or 4 of these. If I take 1, it's going to want to make more. So then it's going to take 1 of those, take 1 of those, take 1 of those, and then each one of these are going to have to get topped back up again. So my bag now has this item, but it's now going to send all the ingredients to refill those quotas back up. And those quotas, remember, were set with the active supplier module back in that tower over there. So this guy's kind of slow, right? And I'm just realizing this inventory is actually full. So thank goodness that this just worked, because that was a bit of an oversight on my part. Potentially, it could get locked, I guess, where if enough ingredients are stuck here that can't get there, maybe no recipe can finish. But for right now, evidently the Resident Ender one has enough ingredients to finish, so it'll make this one. And just judging by the color, it looks like it'll go to the hardened one next. And then these ones are outlined. They're grayed off because I guess they're not, the items are not in here. But eventually, they will be. You can bank on it. Okay, now we go up. So, I'll be honest, I was not a huge PneumaticCraft expert. Not expert, I'm definitely not that. I wasn't super fond of it. It's growing on me. Parts of it are still intimidating. I really, really want to get into the programming puzzle pieces. I haven't yet, just because they're kind of awkward to make. But I do fully intend to start trying to play with drones and doing all these puzzle pieces and trying to figure out, how they all work. Anytime in the past where I've played PneumaticCraft, I've done the bare minimum, and I've always found it really frustrating, especially with this system, trying to burn your little coal generators to get pressure, your little coal compressors to get pressure, just to get enough to make the pressure chamber run. Well, now I've built a network, an air network here that I am pretty proud of, and I think it's pretty cool. And I'm realizing I'm at the 2-hour mark of this stream, quote unquote, my rambly world tour. Maybe I can watch it in a couple of years when I forget all this. Anyways, here we have a bunch of flux compressors. They use RF to generate pressure. And you have to be very careful to not overpressurize stuff or it will explode and it will actually get destroyed. I had stuff get destroyed in a testing world, and I actually had stuff get destroyed in this world. And there's real no coincidence. It's not a coincidence that everything's kind of spaced far apart, and also there's such a vertical height. So if something was to explode, hopefully it wouldn't cause too much damage to my my lasers down below. But this is the cool part. So every one of these flux compressors will explode, I guess, at 20. You can install security upgrades, which I had done, even though it's a security camera. The component is a safety tube. And there's a whole bunch of stuff here. I don't like using these because what these do is they stop something from exploding, but they make the air leak out into the world. So it's really noisy. You constantly hear air hissing. What I've done, I think, is much better. Everything's nice and quiet. So no security upgrades because I'm above that now. Now what I do is I got this pressure module here. Oh, this is where it's going to get down a rabbit hole. I've recently just upgraded this pressure module. Basically, the way this thing works is whatever your bars are, it times that by 2, and then that's your redstone. So if you've got 10 bars of pressure, times 2 is 20. There's no such thing as 20 redstone. So the max pressure you can have is like 7.5. And then once you have 7.5 pressure bars, times 2 is 15 redstone, your system would shut off. This is how this thing works by default. So if you've got 7.5 bars, times 2 is 15, what it would do is it would talk to this thing and say, hey, if you've got a redstone level of 15, then turn the red pipe on, and then the red pipe goes on, and then same thing, you know, use the pipe signal to change the state over here, which touches this redstone conduit. Ultimately, if there is good pressure, which you can see there is in this line, there's 18 bars, these things are not going to run because they need a high signal and it's low. So that is a mouthful. But bottom line is the system will not explode because once it gets to 18 bar, it stops the compressors. Now you might ask, how am I at 18? Because I just said 7.5 was the max. Well, apparently, I didn't know this. I just happened to read something on an old Reddit comment, which is just such a great resource. I cannot stand how everything's going to Discord because you can't search Discord on Google. So there's no information. You can't find like a YouTube video or a Reddit post on Feed the Beast for info. It's all locked on a Discord. And if you're not on that Discord, you're never going to find it. But anyways, the advanced PCB, it allows you to upgrade tube modules. This allows you to specify exactly how you want the module to behave. This is really cool. It allows you to specify exactly how you want the module to behave. So down here, we have the safety thing. It leaks pressure based on a formula. We got the pressure gauge formula. We've got actually releasing air or pushing entities around. We've got a flow tube. It calculates flow. Redstone. We've got a valve, which I'll be talking about shortly. These regulator valves, they are right there and they are so cool. So cool. So long story short, short story long. That's more like it. The advanced PCB, you make it. It's a little awkward, but I went through the trials and errors of, getting all this stuff automated. It's all perfectly automated from my remote orderer logistics pipes. Oh, okay, I'm going off on a tangent here. So since I've upgraded this module with this advanced PCB, you right click on it, all of a sudden it's got a GUI. And so I have it set that if my pressure is higher than 18 bar, emit redstone. So it's going to emit, if you see on the tooltip here, it's emitting 15 because we're at 18.1. If we're above 18, emit high. So that's how I can now keep the pressure in these lines at 18 instead of 7.5. And that's cool because when these systems start doing different things, like this system is 1, system 2, system 3, this guy's the pig, right? He uses lots of air. He only runs on 5 bar. And same with this guy. So the fact that I keep this at 18 now means there's tons of surge capacity. It's like a giant capacitor or a battery bank. I shouldn't have too many issues where I run out of air because this main pipe has got extra. And now this is where the fun part is. The valve. Notice we got 15. Why do we have 15 bar? Interesting. You can tell I haven't actually looked at this very often. We've got 18 bar here because that's where the stuff's generated at. Once we get to the end of the line, we actually have losses. I wonder why. It seems to just be when we take this corner. Well, whatever. This valve is so cool. So this valve's a little different, right? 7.5 minus your redstone times a half equals your pressure. Now, I made a video of this. I think it was my last one, video 10, where I kind of go into more detail. But basically, I have a gate here that if my pipe's empty, which you'll notice this is not even a network, and it's actually an alarm. Those red corners mean it's an alarm, but you can stick a gate on it. And you can say, hey, if my pipe's empty, then do this. So right now we have it set at 15. So this valve is actually closed. It's allowing 0 bars through because I don't want the system running, because this is generating plastics and I've got lots of plastics and we're all full here. So it's just a waste. And if this is running, it's always leaking air. So then this is always running and it's just stuff ticking for no reason, right? So it's off right now. This guy here has a max pressure of 5. So if you give it more than 5 bars pressure, it explodes. So we've got a valve here that if I apply a redstone of 6, you can see in the tooltip, that basically converts through that formula to keep it at a steady 4.5. The whole network here has got 8. Geez, we're really got pressure losses here from 15 to 8. Regardless, this won't get overpressurized. And the same thing, the pipe's empty, set a redstone of 6. I just love logistics pipes and the BuildCraft gates. They're so handy because I could not figure out another block to do that same thing. And I guess a demo, right? A demo is worth 1,000 words. How do you make the drill? How do you make printed unassembled? Okay, here we go. Unassembled. Let's say I wanted, 20 of these for some reason. What's going to happen exactly? So it's going to toss stuff into here. And look at that. Stuff's just getting made. Got made and it got sucked up. And the pressure didn't even barely drop 5. Once you click on this thing, it starts generating these annoying particles. I kind of wish I didn't click on it, because now the particles are there to stay. But this guy has got some speed upgrades in it, and we've got, decent pressure. So it's going to, grab these pieces and it's going to do its little assembly table thing, which again is in one of my videos. But my auto crafting, sends it to the chest. Input chest is blue, and then output is here. And then it goes back in. And again, some clever filtering to not extract the wrong item. And it's so cool that I have all this pressure in this line, so I can throw these speed upgrades in, and it's really fast. Because if I take it out, look how slow everything is. And as soon as I put these guys back in, it uses more pressure, but it runs a lot quicker. That's pretty cool. Again, same thing, right? I've got probably a redstone of 6. And also these pipes. These pipes, max pressure, are 5. These are 20. So if I didn't have that gauge, it would explode. Or this would explode. It would all explode. This is a weird thing. This tank and this chest are actually tied to the Amazon tablet, which is like a villager trading system in PneumaticCraft. You can actually ask for stuff. Like I could ask for lubricant. I could say order 5 of them. It'll cost me 5 times 5, 25 emeralds. I just keep a couple stacks of emeralds in here. A drone magically appears from nowhere, takes emeralds, and then a little bit later, another drone comes back and drops lubricant. And the reason I buy it is because I've got lots of emeralds and I needed them for the speed upgrades, the things of lubricant. So yeah, there's 5 buckets of lubricant. And it's kind of cool, apparently in multiplayer, you can set up trades to trade with other players. So if there was other people on my server, we could set up trades and you would see their name and you could see what they were offering, or you could search for things and then you could, it's kind of like a security thing. It's fair trades, is what I understand. So you'd kind of seen the items, you know, drop in, right? I spent way too long mucking about with this. It's not perfect, but what is this? Yeah, I just kind of finished this today. So you can see it's a little goofy still. Oh God. Please don't break things. Okay, this battery runs the impulse hopper, right? And you don't want to leave your impulse hopper on all the time because it constantly uses RF. So right now, solar panel, it's not running. But if I was to make it run all the time, it actually uses a pretty substantial amount of RF. And the whole point of this thing is I don't want it to drop a frame into the pressure chamber unless everything's there and it's ready to go. If you didn't know, when you send items to the pressure chamber, we click on this here, where's the recipes? You need 2 bars to turn ingot into compressed ingot. Same thing for the blocks. But if you go to something else like, I don't know. Aha. 3, the steel casing for mechanism. I'll need lots of these. You know, it requires this stuff, right? But this PCB here requires 4 bar. So if you send these items and then the system runs out of air, it just can't make the items, and then they'll just literally sit there as items in the world and despawn after 5 minutes. I learned this the hard way with my thermal expansion frames, that costly orange one. I lost quite a few of those actually before I realized what was going on. That was, you know, off in my base doing something else, and it's like, man, why are those item frames not getting processed here? It's because they were getting dropped and they would disappear because I had a technicality I forgot about. But what's going on here? So items come into the ender chest. And can we look at... So out of this brown side, I only want 1 recipe to come out. It's to make the mechanism steel casings. But they can only come out under certain conditions, like, you know, you got a redstone high. So what I've got going on here is I've got more of these modules. These ones don't have GUIs. They're just basic. I didn't upgrade them with PCBs like down below. This is an OR gate. So basically either it's got to be level 14 or got to be level 15 redstone and then turn green. So this is an OR gate. One or the other turns the green pipe on. So that's cool. And then this guy is like, I'll talk about that one after. So here, if there's items in the inventory, right now there's nothing. If I was to stick in a piece of bread, there's items in the inventory, pull them out. But only pull out valid items. So it's not going to pull out this bread. I'm trying to think of a simpler way to explain what I'm trying to do here. As long as we have enough pressure, which is basically 7.5 to 7 bars, whatever it is, pressure, because I have not upgraded this module to anything fancier. We need enough pressure in this system. I want 7.5 roughly, before you pull items out of this chest. So no items will come out. This one recipe won't, or these extra ones here won't. But as long as we've got pressure, and we do, they'll come out. So that's the one condition. And the other condition is items have to be in here. Okay, so there's 2 paths. The one path is these items, flow control, again, just to make sure that, you know, I'm not missing something and then this despawns. The rest of them just go circumvent it and go straight in. And we've got a speed upgrade. So anytime we have to make something, it is silly fast. I don't know if I'm doing a good job explaining this, but oh well. So that's one thing, right? As soon as this guy's happy, there's items and it's got a green pipe, then turn redstone on. This purple conduit picks up that purple redstone, and then turns this on, turns on the impulse hopper, gives it a pulse, so it drops the batch, and then purple also releases any other items that are in this chest. So that's cool. The other thing is the cyan redstone filter, and that's to do with this guy. So let's say we do a ton of crafting, and I did do this earlier, that's why I built this safety mechanism. Anytime I kind of go overboard with some weird little redstone safety mechanism is because I had an issue, and then I'm just trying to over-engineer it and, you know, solve it is kind of the idea. But basically, my pressure ran too low. So a redstone of 9 equals about a 4.5 bar. So if I ever get to 4.5 bar, turn on blue. And then the blue line is going to run. You can't see it. There it is. Trust me, it's there. And then it runs to right to here. So if blue is on, turn redstone on. So redstone gets turned on, cyan redstone is on. What happens is cyan redstone turns on this vacuum chest, and it's configured that if it's got a redstone signal to suck items out. If I ever have stuff happening down below and this system gets critical where the pressure's too low to do any type of craft, which is roughly that 4.5 bar, it pulls everything out and it sits in this chest, and it will not leave this chest to try again until this guy's happy, which is like that 7.5 bar. I hope I'm explaining that well, because it works pretty cool and it makes sense to me. It's like a hysteresis thing. Like if I was to ask for, what's a good example here? Well, actually a good example is capacitors, because right now we don't actually have a stack of capacitors, even though my system is configured to have it to request a stack, probably because I'm out of gray plastic. This part's not been fully automated yet. So if I grab a couple stacks of gray plastic, might as well grab a couple stacks of all this stuff actually. And just throw it into the system real quick. We should see items get sent real quickly. I don't know what the best vantage point is. So it's getting dropped in. Notice my magnet is turned off. So all that blue stuff bouncing around. So boom, boom, boom. And what's our pressure at? Our pressure didn't even barely drop. So because of the fact that I'm running this main network now at like 18 bar, I think I've done a pretty good job making sure this pressure chamber is reliable. Before I had done, whoops, this little advanced PCB upgrade, you know, it kept it at 7.5 bar instead of 18. This guy is just for my own. The redstone outputs out the side, so to look at the gauge, you gotta like look at it awkwardly. So I put another one here, and I also upgraded this guy with an advanced PCB. And so if you noticed, there was a menu here. Whoops. Emit when, higher, lower than. Advanced. This is really cool. It actually draws a graph. So what you can do is basically your pressure threshold and then your redstone. So like you could have it so, you know, if you want a redstone of 1 at, you know, this pressure. I'm not explaining it well, but it's a slope of a line graph, right? You can have it going this way. So as your pressure in your system goes higher, your redstone reading is going to go higher. Or you can invert it. So if you have it so if your pressure goes higher, your redstone decreases. It's actually a really cool line graph thingy that I wish more mods in Minecraft had for scaling. Like imagine being able to scale redstone signals based on a user-defined, you know, RF signal, you know, between 0 and 5,000 RF, you know, scale that to 0 and 15 redstone, or, you know, 0 and 1,000 RF. It would be so cool. So cool. Well, that's that. I'm just trying to think here. I haven't really left my world at all. I didn't really So what a cool view. I'm pretty happy with this world. It probably looks a little chaotic, but I think it gives it some kind of character. And I absolutely love my aether clouds. Just for quickly bouncing around the world. You'll notice like I set aether clouds there. You know, back over there somewhere, down there, just to give me a boost. I even got some of my cow farm over there. This building was going to be mechanism, but I kind of ran out of energy trying to build the building, and it seemed too small, so I just decided I was going to stick mechanism, you know, over there in that tower. So here's a perfect example of all my Agricraft seeds. Everything's 10, 10, 10. Then here's all my Botania. I haven't even started Botania yet, but at least now I have all these seeds, which is going to be so sweet. But the tip I got was, well, the harvester doesn't break the crop, so the seeds don't get destroyed from being a 10, 10, 10. And it's way cheaper than making a bunch of these, you know, EnderIO Agricraft add-on thingy-majigs. So, you know, I got a quartz card in there. It's this size. That's cool. I got a slave storage door hooked right up to the back of it. So right now it's actually stopped because it's stuffed. So this is cool too. It's not just dumping all these items onto the ground causing lag. If it cannot stick them into the storage door network, it just stops. It says, hey, I'm stuffed. That is it. And of course, you know, a bunch of solar panels. It barely uses power, so that solar panels is more than enough. We drop down here. You can see it's a relatively new addition. I really hummed and hawed about putting a farm in my base because the rendering lag that will happen to the client, to me, is probably going to be insane. But this thing barely ran and then it's full. Like, notice, actually all it takes is one thing to fill it. And it's probably the red dye. So I need the red dye for logistics pipes and for PneumaticCraft. Same with the green dye, logistics pipes and PneumaticCraft. I could throw upgrades in them, but I'm not super convinced this system is going to stay like this, so I don't want to keep making it run, filling these drawers up. I guess I have to modify something. But again, all I have to do, you know, is throw down an ender chest and a small little logistics pipe system, and then this guy can talk to everywhere else in the base. And more importantly, my remote orderer. So I love that, how easy that is to link everything up. The tree farms make sludge. I think I even have a sludge cow. These are sludge boilers. They have an output of a bunch of these items. Even though both of these say dirt, one of them is coarse dirt, and they don't like to play along. And if you stand anywhere where you see those particles, you will get poisoned, and it makes you jump, and it's annoying. Oh yes, I almost forgot. This sad little room gets forgotten. So down here is bedrock. It's kind of cheaty because you're in the overworld. It's supposed to be a sky block, but you have to grow these capacitor seeds on a basic capacitor bank surrounded by the dark iron bars. So instead of me just talking about it, it'll be like a trip down nostalgia lane for anybody that remembers this. The capacitor seeds. It gives you a whole little story here. It gives you a nice little picture. And boom. You know, there you go. Cool, right? So this is the only place that I have Agricraft sprinklers and a water supply hooked up because I'm so terrified with how laggy I know other people have experienced. But just to make these darn things grow quick, and you can see they are growing quick. No fancy modules in here, just that. This was my journey of getting a 10-10-10 seed. You'll notice these are all the different seeds I got before I finally got 10-10-10s. And I'm voiding this stuff. And I got, what, 300 here, 700 there, 1500 here. Every once in a while I come by, I do one of those. you know, and then I do that. But like, I really need to program an off switch in here. I wonder if I should do that. No, I'm not going to. So yeah, this is this room definitely needs to be revamped because it was a very, very early game. Not an early game, it was like 500 days in, but I needed these capacitors, and now that I have them, life is great. This world was supposed to be stone, or I guess packed ice all the way to bedrock, but it turns out it generates a couple ores, as you can see here. This 3 height. All I did was dig them into the wall and move them out of my way. I didn't actually decide to take them or process them because it felt kind of, you know, not in the spirit of the pack. Having ore generate down here, even having bedrock in general in your overworld in a skyblock's kind of cheaty, but whatevs. I think that is it. Whoops. There's nothing, there's no dimension worth going to. The nether's a mess. Sure, there's something that I'm forgetting. 2.5 hours. I was actually wondering how long I could ramble on this for. So, I like to AFK in here, you know, kind of a throwback, or makes me remember where I started. Because, man, the first, going back and watching my episode 1 of how I was starting, I was like, there's no way I'm going to get far in this pack. This is crazy. But logistics pipes was just the coolest thing. I just kept going and going, trying to automate different things. I love me my redstone control. Trying to think of not a clever, but like a fitting outro. But no one's going to watch this because it's some overtired guy yambling on. Rambling. Yawning and rambling on. Man, I need to get hydrated here. That's part 1.